Hey, you guys. Okay, in theory, I'm now live on YouTube, and I'm so happy to see some of my old friends here. It's super cool. I haven't seen you guys for ages. Okay, in theory, I'm now live on YouTube, and I'm so happy to see some of my old friends here. Okay, now I got it. Bear with me 1 second. Let me reopen and pause that. Now I got it. Okay, I was going to do this from bed like last time because I believe in gender equality. And if Barrett Brown can do press conferences from a bathtub with a glass of red wine, I don't see why I can't analyze Snowden documents from my bed. But I've decided to go with my desk. It's a bit of a different angle from my usual live streams because usually I have my laptop like up really high so that I can multitask and do stuff. But today I just need to be able to type a lot. So sorry, I hope the lighting's okay and I hope that you can see me all right. It's also like nearly 5 o'clock in the morning or literally 4:20 in the morning. So that's why the lighting is a bit terrible. Okie dokie, let's get started. Okay, so last time, bathtub, yeah, really, it's tempting, isn't it? It's definitely tempting to get in the bath and do this, but I will save you the displeasure of that experience. I will show off my t-shirt. Can you all see my t-shirt? Courage is contagious. Nice high-necked one for this episode. Okay. So let me do my screen share. So thank you to Blake, who was so awesome last time to actually teach me the correct settings for sharing the screen. I will just grab the batch documents somewhere here, and then we will get started. So I've pretty voraciously posted the links around the place, but if you want to see the write-up that we did from the last live stream, it's on decipheru.com. And it's just simply part 3. I think it's in the comment section of this video as well. Right. So here we go, share screen. Okay, hopefully you guys can now see the folder of documents. And I'm just going to scroll down. So this is what we got up to, the rewards of metadata. Okay, and to get my little notes going. Okay, so the first document is SIGCOM. What is it? Well, that's the question of the day. What is SIGCOM? SIGINT Communications and the National SIGINT Committee. So obviously I'm not going to try and read out the documents to you guys, but just let me know if you can see it. You should be able to see it on your screen now, right? Okay. For 42 years, there is an organization that has been coordinating signals intelligence, the National SIGINT Committee, to advise and assist the Director of Central Intelligence and the Director of NSA. So you guys need to yell out if you see anything interesting that I miss. Community Electronic Intelligence Management Office. information needs statements submitted by customers. So this is where various agencies and government entities are making requests to the NSA for information. Okay, so it seems to be like a mainly policy-related advisory committee. I guess this is what they'd consider to be one of their checks and balances. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting in that. Okay, officer in charge. Okay, so this is another bulletin where they're advertising internally for a position. One thing that's interesting is that all the NSA deployments seem to be in this 90 to 120 days range. But what is the deployment for a like regular soldier? Isn't it like 6 to 9 months or something? I'm pretty sure. I wonder what this TF121 is, that like task force 121.2. Okay. Not bad feedback. Oh, this is feedback on the articles. Want to know more about the STDP. Senior Technical Development Program. Okay, it's more HR stuff. Signals Intelligence Director, your thoughts make a difference. Okay, it's more managerial nonsense. Counterterrorism support for CENTCOM in Afghanistan. It's another deployment ad. Korea rock drill 4 outshines the sun in Hawaii. Oh, interesting. Designed to test the cryptologic system's capabilities during a transition to war on the Korean Peninsula. And when is this? 2004. So they've been war planning for Korea for a long, long time, which makes sense with such a huge base in South Korea. This should be interesting, considering the recent news about Niger and Africa. Surging US strategy, energy interest in West Africa. Okay, so this should be extremely relevant. Who has done reading on the recent African stuff and Niger stuff? Guys? I'd be interested to know specifically whether the recent reporting around US deployments in Africa and in the Niger included the US energy interests there. The reason I ask that is because that's what this is specifically about. An oil boom, and this is unclassified, an oil boom led by US investment of tens of billions of dollars and reminiscent of the expansion in the Persian Gulf, is now occurring in West Africa. And this is, look how far back that is, 2004. The United States will be relying on West Africa for at least 20% of its import. Look, they're projecting that to 2015. At least 25% of its imported oil. New discoveries of oil have been pushing estimates of oil reserves in West African countries higher by billions of barrels every year. Okay, so because I don't know a whole lot about it, let's quickly have a look at a map of Africa. Sure enough, the Niger is in West Africa. And not only is it in West Africa, but it shares a border with Libya. Hopefully you guys can you see that map there on the screen? I'm not sure if you're actually seeing it when I switch the windows. Niger, Mali, Algeria, Western Sahara, Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, Togo, Benin. Okay. Oh, God, my Zoom menu's driving me nuts. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for the feedback. So let's go back to the document. Much of the new oil development in the region is in offshore deepwater facilities. Increased need for naval security. Security is necessary for thousands of US oil workers, US-owned drilling platforms, floating storage facilities, and oil tankers. Okay, so as far back as 2004, the US was forecasting 25% of US oil dependency. How do I move this screen? In West Africa. I'm just going to pull the source link for this document from Intercept. Back to the document. West African oil is preferred as it is light premium crude oil. US and European refiners prefer it. By comparison, Latin American oils are heavier. Now, somewhere on Twitter, there was like a really great a chart that I saw this week go past, and it was something along the lines of like why the US is in Africa, why we are in Africa. It was an image. Let's see if we can find it. It was a map of Africa, and on each of the countries it had the key like resource that the US was interested in. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Did any of you see it? It's like diamonds, oil, coffee, blah, 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 instead of the country names. Yeah, Crocodile. I did read about that the US interest in Africa was to push back against Chinese influence in trading and economic interests in Africa. I'm not sure, Bridget, if it was from Ron Paul's website. I just saw the tweet go past, and I should have retweeted it, but it was really cool because instead of the country names, it had the key resources of each of the countries. That would be a really good resource in terms of to link to writing about this. See if we can find something. Here we go. And there you go, uranium in Niger and petroleum in Nigeria. Interestingly, it doesn't have anything in terms of off the coastlines here. I don't know if you guys can see that okay. I'll just, aha, and look, there's good old Libya. So that now there's the entire West African petroleum and energy area. Okay, that's a good supplementary link. Okay, back to the document. We can expect the future US energy strategy for West Africa will include the use of diplomatic and trade leverage, as well as military strength. that just reminds me of a conversation that I had with Thomas Drake in Berlin, where we were talking about the US infiltrates countries politically, and if they can't do it politically, economically, and if they can't do it economically, militarily. And that's basically what they're saying here, is that like they'll use diplomatic and trade leverage as well as military strength. So they're always going to back it up with guns and bombs, which really makes the diplomacy a farce. To ensure that the flow of oil to the United States and its allies is unimpeded. So, I mean, that's just it right there. That is it right there. And notice this, secret. So we've gone from unclassified background to secret to the most secret part of it is that they fully intend to use the military as leverage to extract as much petroleum from West Africa as possible. Africa may not always be important on the international political scene, mainly because they manage to pretty much cover up whatever they do there, but it is important on the economic scene and will play a more significant role in the future. So they foresaw this. This is 13 years ago. They knew what they were going to be doing here. Typical. Okay. So I think that document is particularly relevant. It's also a really great sent to inbox. Oh, Luke made a video about it. Fantastic. Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, if you could tweet me and like tag me into Luke's tweet or whatever, tweet me Luke's tweet, that would be really cool because I can reference that as well. There's two things that I take from this aside from what's actually contained in the document. One is like how far forward their planning is, right? That from 2004, they knew that they would be wielding the military, for economic reasons in Africa for years to come, and that it would be more important in the future. They foresaw that like all these years ago. But the second thing is that when the Intercept journalists were going through this obviously wasn't considered to be like a big deal. But now a year on since that, I think that release was like December or November last year, now it's very relevant to what's in the news cycle and the other things that we are learning about what's happening in Africa at the moment. And it just goes to show like how Snowden's disclosures are like the gift that keeps on giving. There's relevant, important information. Even though like you'd think, he leaked it a few years ago or whatever, this is like really, it's not just a treasure trove, it's history. It's the real history. It's the history that you don't see on CNN. So uranium is in Niger. Like when we looked at that resource map of Africa, and Nigeria is the petroleum, as well as Libya and other places. This is true. Someone's saying 90% of the Edward Snowden docs still haven't been released by the Intercept. The most fascinating information to me personally is the targeting information, but that is the information that we might not ever see out of them. I certainly hope that we do. That's life-changing stuff if that ever really comes out. But it seems that they've gone with the most benign documents first in some ways. No, not first, sorry, I shouldn't say that comes across the wrong way. They obviously, the PRISM disclosures, the JTRIG disclosures, all of that kind of stuff that came out right at the beginning, that was very, very, very significant. But what I mean by benign is that like this cultural insight that we get, like you can see from most of these documents, it's just like inner workings of NSA, like from HR perspective or whatever. Daily, you can kind of get a feel for like the daily life of the NSA employees and the opportunities that they're given and the trainings and the sessions on this and the other thing. But you really have to dig through the documents. There's probably like one in every 20 documents that's actually worth digging deeper, or that has information in it that is really, really contextual and important for researchers. Okay, so that's that one down. What have we got next? Target technology trends. What technologies are the targets using? We rely heavily on the expertise of target officers, technologists, private industry, and academia. Top 10 list of target technologies. Private industry and academia makes me think about all of these tech blogs and the extent to which they're also being poured over by NSA employees. Okay, town meeting. There's some interesting stuff in the last session about OPSEC. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go look it up. On September 12th, 2001, the day after September 11th, Deputy Secretary of Defence Paul Wolfowitz challenged each of us with the immediate need to protect sensitive information and the importance of understanding and applying OPSEC across the Department of Defence. Interesting that the day after 9/11, that would be his priority. Because the issue with 9/11 wasn't lack of OPSEC, right? Their issue was that they were unable to connect the dots. Like we know from Colleen Rowley and others that they did actually have the information that they needed in order to be able to catch those guys beforehand. So I wonder why on September 12th, Wolfowitz was lecturing about OPSEC. Wow, they have a portal, a customer portal. This cracks me up because it's so commercial. Like everything these guys do is like really, really commercial internally, even though it's interagency. The models are really commercial. The language is also really commercial. Like senior executive account manager, right? Like you would, that's the title you would have in like any business. They really, everything that they do is approached as a business, as a corporate, which is just like plain scary when you think about these guys are like digging out the info that's being used to target bombs. Converted from sun to NT. Microsoft has their hands all over this stuff. Okay. You're spot on, Cockatoo. It is a revolving door corporate. It's like if you go back to part one or part two, where I wrote about how like they were recruiting for the CIA out of the NSA and vice versa, and they're having the top management go back and forth between the agencies. Exactly right. It's a revolving door corporate. That's totally correct. And then when you add in the private agencies, like into that little web, it gets even more insidious. Yakima Research Station. That sounds very Japanese. No, State of Washington. I take it back. I guess that's Native American. Oh, right. So this is another one of these things where they have NSA people who are posted at different places do this little talk about their experience. Remember in the last session we were reading the one about the people in Canada? look at the way it's written. Like one sunny weekend in October when the leaves were beautiful, my husband and I took a drive. It's like so romantic. And once again, we're back to hiking, fishing, hunting, skiing, snowmobiling, and boating. So it's basically like a tourism, like it's like a tourism brochure for an NSA facility. Come and work here because you can go water skiing. The Spring Offensive, 2004, 13th of February. In the coming months, oh, and look at the markings on this. In the coming months, US military and intelligence personnel will begin a spring offensive in the Afghanistan-Pakistan area. We have no higher priority. It could take 8 days or 8 months or 13 years. Here is a real, I can't help but laugh at this stuff, like, sorry, but here is a real opportunity to make a decisive and lasting contribution to our nation's security. I'm sure that the Americans are feeling much safer for having had their 15-year war in Afghanistan. Lonely Planet for spooks. Oh my God, that is hilarious. For those of you who don't know what Lonely Planet is, I've probably got some Lonely Planet books around here actually. Lonely Planet is like a tour guide, like the ultimate tour guide, like go and eat here, go and see this, go and see that, call this number. Oh, that's just classic. That is truly classic. Right. Watch new CRD video. Okay, we can't, unfortunately. The new compensation reform. I think the compensation reform needs to happen at the executive level, personally. Okay, boring. Siebel CRM at the NSA. I mean, so they use corporate products. That's what we saw last time as well. Their Dell machines and the Dell workstations and their Oracle databases, and they are spending money with the same suppliers as the big corporates are. This should be interesting. Support to the White House, 2004. Account manager for the what? Account manager. The White House is one of their accounts. On a daily basis, SIG reaches President Bush in the President's Terrorist Threat Report, presented by his National Security Advisor. Summarized by the Situation Room staff in their twice-a-day, one-page President summary. So, how many files were they collecting? Was it like, I don't want to quote the number now, but we read it last session. It was like 42 million or something in records a day back in 2004, and they're turning it into a twice-a-day, one-page President summary. Cheney, Condoleezza Rice. So it's Condoleezza Rice that is presenting the daily SIGINT report to President Bush. I'm surprised this is secret because I'm pretty sure that we all knew that already. Libby. $80 special assistants to the president that we didn't know. Examples of where the White House is happy with the NSA. SIGINT alerted a National Security Council official of a foreign representative's intentions to call him that afternoon and the subject of the call, therefore helping him to prepare. What's the point of even having the call? May as well just be like, hi, oh, don't worry, my team actually told me about what you're calling about already. Yeah, good one. The lives of these people amaze me. Like, imagine like sitting there and getting that and having to play like you had no idea. During a daily intelligence briefing, the president read an entire 3 pages. This stuff is interesting, but I don't think particularly newsworthy. NSA trains FBI officers in intelligence reporting. Stuff is so much like propaganda. Like, we love NSA. Everything's like NSA is doing a great job. NSA is doing a great job. NSA is doing a great job. The future of the web. Do you ever wish you could view the latest reporting from dozens of different sources from a single web page? Isn't that called a newspaper or a news site? Do you wish you could pick the means by which this information was delivered to you? RSS, anyone? Well, maybe they shouldn't have been persecuting the hell out of Aaron Schwartz, since they love using this stuff so much. The NSA loves RSS. What does it mean to downgrade comment? Sanitization is carried out to make information releasable outside of comment channels. So that's when they are lowering the grade of classification. Downgrading, by contrast, does not involve taking material out of the channels. The information stays in the channels. The only change is the classification level. Okay, so technically, downgrading is where they change classification level. Sanitization is what's supposed to happen before it's released outside of the intelligence networks. However, we know that doesn't always happen because of that Reagan story that was released from this batch, where they basically the president dumped raw SIG and leaked it when it suited him. Downgrading can only be done by their special classification authorities, who sit around all day, every day, deciding what should be secret or top secret or whatever else. Interesting that they actually call it sanitization. Like, it's basically openly admitting that they are actually sanitizing the content. RSS is a protocol developed by many people, one of which was Aaron Schwartz, which allows them to pull content from multiple sources, but you can customize it to what you want. You configure it, basically. But it's just a method of pulling information from sources and then compiling it on email or website or wherever, however you want to receive it. Okay. Learn corporate. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so this is a defense intelligence senior executive being interviewed about his role and what he does. And he says, we have to think, plan, and act strategically. to accomplish our mission, and then learn corporately from what we did. So saying like across the business. That language just cracks me up. Yeah, more propaganda. NSA has a long and illustrious history of being able to handle any crisis that comes to visit our nation or its allies. We think and act tactically. Give us a crisis, a disaster, or a war, or create one for us, and we focus like a laser on getting the job done. We don't much care what sacrifices are involved. Accomplishing the mission is what we live and breathe. It drives us, it nourishes us, it sustains us. Oh, please. I know of no group of people on the planet that is more dedicated to their mission or who can do it better. Yeah, how about like a charity, like with volunteers in it that do things for like the right reason and don't get millions of dollars to kill people? By the way, the mission is preserving the safety and well-being of our country. By the way. I find this interesting, like from an inverse perspective, like he's saying, you know, number one is that they need resources to be able to do what they do. And this is like conversely, this is where they attack the resources of activists and of journalists and of targets. The first thing that they do is go after all of their resources, asset strip them, prevent them from having access to income, prevent them from having access to resources, and yet they themselves are resource dependent. So if they have any weakness whatsoever, this would be one of them, is whatever their resources are. I assume that resources in this case means everything from human resources to economic resources. Yeah, he basically breaks it down from that point. And so here he's basically saying that you need to be an executive to know what the nation is doing, to know where the nation is going. So at a certain point, they get above that like need to know level. When we interviewed the drone whistleblowers for Anti-Spy Bill, they talked about the compartmentalization, where each of them only knows a tiny little aspect of like what they need to do, and they perform in a chain. It's like the drones have a kill chain, and it requires every person in the chain who knows their individual bits to perform their individual actions, which all adds up to a weaponized flying robot killing someone in Afghanistan. What he's saying is that at executive level, you see you break out of that compartmentalization, and you actually understand the strategic, or to some degree, the strategic operations as a whole of, as he puts it, where the nation is going. Actually, I find this very interesting. Compartmentalization ends at the corporate level. At the executive level. Okay. The dice population. That's how he refers to the executives, the dice population. Our corporate goals. So this, again, there's this reference to GG13, GG14, GG15. So they have some kind of HR tiers for personnel. Yeah, also interesting, like he says he came in as a linguist and was like on the ground floor, so to speak, for 25 years. And this does seem to be one commonality with NSA, is that they do tend to push people up internally through their own ranks from having read their HR documents. Although personally, I'm not convinced that spending 25 years somewhere to get to that is the greatest idea in the world. You can do a lot better in the corporate field. I then moved over to the access and collection side of the equation and enjoyed that tremendously. It was great fun. That kind of scares me, you know. It's like, it was great fun listening to people's phone calls and reading their emails and looking at their pictures. I missed the rush of pulling together a report that is going to arm the president with information to win the day for the nation. You've really got to stop and ask yourself, like, when did they ever win the day? Because all of these wars have been utterly ruinous. Like, winning the day for who precisely? And again, focused on getting the resource. Now I'm focused on getting the resource so others can do that work. Any executive worth his or her salt needs a sense of perspective, a good sense of humor, a long memory for excellent interaction with others, and total amnesia regarding real or perceived wrongs. Amnesia. You need to have amnesia. Oh, good Lord. What did the president say? What did Obama say? It's not about going backwards, it's about looking forwards. God forbid that they actually look backwards and have some accountability. So to be an executive at the NSA requires literally amnesia. Unimpeachable loyalty. Wow. So he basically says you won't be there for your family, but a functional family is the most important factor in your success. Nice combination there. You're well paid, you're eating regularly, you have never slept on a grate. This is very reminiscent of what Philip Mudd, the CIA, ex-CIA guy, it's like deputy director or something, who I wrote about in the agenda to destabilize Europe. And Philip Mudd, his regret about having left is, he literally says, is missing the paycheck, missing the salary payment every second week, like clockwork, he says. You get used to having that paycheck every second week. These guys have amnesia for a paycheck. That's basically what it comes down to. They have chosen amnesia for a paycheck. And when the upside, this guy is advertising being an NSA executive as you're eating regularly and you've never slept on a grate. But you've done a lot of other stuff, that's for sure. And your resource enrichment is coming at the expense of other human beings exponentially. Okay. Next. Intelligence in the family. There was a similar article to this in one of the last releases. Oh, God. Okay. Did you guys read this? I have a brother who's over 10 years older than me, and ever since I was old enough to remember where he worked, I knew he worked for the State Department. Then this guy went and applied for the NSA. When I flew out for my polygraph, I got my first hint of the family secret. The polygrapher asked if I had any relatives working for the agency. I said no. She asked about my brother by name. I said no, he works for the State Department. Sure enough, he then got an email from an NSA employee who was his brother. Little did I suspect when I joined the NSA that for many years I'd had family connections at the agency, he says. Oh, this is interesting. Here's some more academia and intelligence agency collaborations. So if Johns Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies is training NSA, then maybe there's more to the Harvard CIA connection than just visiting speakers. You guys know how Chelsea Manning was dumped from becoming a, what was it? A visiting scholar or something, I forget what they call them, at Harvard. Okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm like a non-violent activist. Like, I don't have weapons. I'm not involved in any kind of like violent activism at all. So if you're in the chat, I'd really appreciate you not like talking about violence or weapons or anything like that. Bad enough that we have to talk about drone killings and other kinds of stuff that is related to these documents. Yeah, John Hopkins, Kat. So, well, no, because I don't consider not killing people. Someone's just said, that's why I'll lose, Suzie. Violence is the only answer. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be partaking in any violence. And I consider that to be winning myself, actually, because the karmic implications of killing people is horrific. In fact, people who kill other people themselves are the walking dead. They're literally hollow and empty inside. They have lost their own soul and their own humanity, at which point, what's the point in living? The point in living is actually love and empathy and kindness and human connection. And that's why I give a shit. That's why I care that people are being blown up with like weaponized killer robots, is because I actually care about those people and their families and their societies and what they have to live with and what they experience and what they go through every day. So if you lack that empathy and you want to participate in violence, then I don't really see much difference between that and what these guys are doing, accepting money and earning money to kill and destroy other people in other societies. So like I would just, this is my little space, you can call it a safe space, even though I find that laughable and hilarious, where I would just like people to not talk about inciting violence. Exactly. But there's enough of it in the world. Like there's more than enough violence in the world. What we need more of is people actually giving a shit, people actually caring about each other, people actually wanting to help and wanting to make things better and do something to protect other people. You know, people actually are precious. Try carrying one in your stomach for 9 months and you'll understand why talk of just killing left, right, and center is actually disgusting. And why human life, it should be preserved. It should be. So, now, where were we? John Hopkins. So John Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies is training NSA people. Well, whether they're training like knowingly, oh no, it is, because in conjunction. So one of the NSA councils in conjunction is presenting a course from John Hopkins. So this is also very topical to the Harvard CIA Chelsea Manning stuff. Okay, area studies courses webpage. So they must have a whole bunch of these courses that they do, and probably in conjunction with other schools as well. Right, very relevant. And see, it's a classic example where like the title doesn't seem like it would be anything, you know, particularly interesting, but the fine print is actually very relevant. John Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies. Okay, next. Colombia. The hostages were on the interview with 60 Minutes and the History Channel, but NSA doesn't know where they are. Interesting. Can any of you guys find this? This is a great task. Can you try and find the History Channel and 60 Minutes 2 interviews about Keith Stansel, Thomas Howes, and Mark Gonsalves? I completely agree with you, Deborah Snow. I completely agree with you. This planet does not need any more war, any more hatred, any more killing, any more weapons, any more war profiteering, any more drones. It needs less of all of those things. Okay. So now 60 minute interview, 60 minutes 2, I'll put this in chat. 60 minutes 2 and History Channel interviews with hostages in Colombia, and their names were, oh, here we go, I've got it. Those are the names of the 3 hostages. I think Intercept reported on this because I read this part before. Yeah, they did report on this. Okay. I'd still be interested in watching those interviews anyway. That sounds quite fascinating. The idea that they were able to do interviews with those channels and yet the NSA didn't know where they were. This guy had recently completed an Iraqi weapons of mass destruction tour. Well, that must have been eventful. Oh, God. I wasn't able to deploy until October 2003. By that point, I hoped there'd still be some value in going. The war's over, people would say. Why would they send you to Iraq now? The war is over in October 2003. Yet again, this just shows like how badly propagandized people were. I would be serving as one of only 6 analysts tasked with providing SIGINT support to capture-kill operations. And how did that work out? Regular reports on SIGINT activity in suspicious areas to real-time tracking of targeted handsets during operations. He had New Year's Eve in Saddam's palace. But I'll leave knowing that this country is well on its way to recovery, and we have helped. 2004. Imagine how fascinating it would be to have the same person. I mean, he's talking about how he's going to tell his grandkids what an amazing, important thing that they did in Iraq. How do you think this person feels about it now? Oh, well done. Blake, could you dump those links into the Discord for me, please, so I can check them later? That would be really, really cool because once I finish the stream, the YouTube links will just, the YouTube chat will disappear and then I won't catch them in time. The reason I keep doing the big deep sighs is because it actually really saddens me. It really saddens me. I'll leave knowing that this country is well on its way to recovery and we have helped. I can only imagine how that person feels now. And this is a thing like that's really important too. Like, we have to have empathy with both sides. Like, have empathy with this kid who got sent to Iraq for 3 months and who wrote all of this propagandistic crap and dreamed of how he was going to tell his grandkids about what a great job they'd done for Iraq and wasn't it all wonderful, and is sitting God knows where now 13 years later knowing that it was all for nothing, worse than for nothing. Like, we should have empathy with that person as well as having empathy with the country that was completely destroyed. No one wins except for the people who make the billions off of this. I think we're still only like halfway through the batch. Target Analysis Center. I shake my head like this because I'm literally picturing them like having their 88 New Zealand citizens that referred to the NSA like in their Target Analysis Center, like and analyzing us. Sickness. Corporate level. The Analysis Center's mission is to develop corporate level analytic tools and techniques to assist the processes to collect, exploit, and analyze target systems on the global network such that the SIGINT system will know and own the target space when events require it. That has countless deeply personal meanings for me. To accomplish our task, we work with other SIGNEV centres. To develop a complete and coherent target picture. So I think what they're saying here, which is why they've got the word synthesize in there. There's another document like from one of the previous batches where they talk about wanting to reproduce the target environment and to see everything and view everything exactly the way the target would. So they're actually trying to like reproduce the lived experience of the target. Target development services. Today, the Target Analysis Center has 3 separate sub-elements. The metadata analysis cell. So they have a specific team that's just specifically about metadata analysis. The Social Network Center and Target Development Services. Oh my God. So this is completely transforming like the way that I have considered like that the targeting happens. So I thought it was as simple as like a target being assigned to an analyst and like that analyst having X amount of targets that they have got to spy on. But maybe they do still, maybe they are still assigned to an analyst, but maybe the analyst is shopping out various aspects. Because what this sounds suspiciously like is that this Target Analysis Center is producing the analysis, the metadata analysis separately to the social network analysis. And Target Development Services, I mean, what the fuck does that mean, honestly? This is very, very, very interesting. Target Analysis Center. Very interesting. From the perspective of being a target, I find this very, very fascinating. Like, find out what the hell it is they actually do to us. So maybe I've been underestimating exactly how much work it is to pull all of, I mean, maybe they actually have to have a large number. I think I had the idea that like one analyst would have a large number of targets. Maybe one target has a large number of analysts. TAC is the analysis center. A target analysis center. TDS was target development system. Services, worse than system. Services. SIGDev is like signals intelligence development, I think, something like that. Where are we? Oh, SIGINT development, yeah. I was right. How long have we been going for, you guys? just going to take it off screen share for a second. Okie dokie. I'm not meaning to ignore you guys on Twitter, sorry. Just kind of failing at multitasking at the moment. Thank you guys sending me resources on Twitter. That's really cool. Wow, it's 6 a.m. already. See, this stuff is so time consuming. And I don't think I realize how much time it takes until doing it on the stream, because previously I've for part 1 and part 2 analyzed all the documents in a single sitting, but it takes me 14 hours, 12 or 14 hours to do so. I think that we should have a coffee break for 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe I'll find out who my analysts were some days. Well, maybe I'll find out who one of them was. And who knows, maybe, oh, Kat, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. It's really cool. Oh my God, you've been such an amazing person. For those who don't know, Kat G4 used to just amplify for all our actions. When I was covering protests and stuff in New Zealand for years, she would always be so good about following our streams and sharing our content with everyone, and just bringing us as much attention as she possibly could. And I greatly appreciate that, and we try to return that solidarity as much as possible as well. She's just amazing. So thank you so much. Okay, guys, let's see how much what have we got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new things to add to the article. I think I'll wrap it here because I need to stretch my back and really badly, and I need to make another. My tea's cold, so I need to go and make a hot tea. That's really cool. It's quite fascinating sitting here and doing this with you guys. I actually really like it. And we will just keep hammering it out until we're through all the docs. So, I mean, we made good progress tonight, but there's still a lot to go. Really a lot to go. Yeah, we're going to be going for a while. But I think I'd rather, especially at the moment, because I've got so much other stuff that I'm doing, I would like to just keep doing small, having small goes at this until we get through it. So I think the next one I could maybe do might not be till Monday, actually. It depends whether, I think we have anti-spy bill on Sunday. I'm not sure, but I'll keep you posted anyway. I'll post on Twitter and let you know when I'm going to continue this, but I will keep going at it. So what I will do is, after I've had my little break, I will log on to Decipher you and I'll write up these points and I'll add them to the article. So that decipheru.com link will just keep getting longer and longer and more comprehensive. until we have covered off all the interesting things from these 262 docs. And I guess I'm going to keep doing this like series for quite some time to come, because there's actually 2 other batches. There's a 4th and 5th batch releases from the Intercept. So probably roughly another 500 documents after these ones to keep working through. So for as long as I can, I'll keep hammering these out, and we'll do a part 4 and a part 5 on Decipher You. And then maybe, I guess, if I really get my proverbial together, we can make a video of highlights of like everything that we have learned, and but condense it. So it's like 30 seconds of each point, and just highlight all of the things that we learned from studying the Snowden docs directly. I think that would be really, really cool to do. I've got a lot of video work I have to do. I also really want to do an anti-spy bill recap now that we've done 10 episodes or whatever, or 9 episodes, so that people can see just some of the best parts of that, and of each interview that we've done, and each theme that the interview is on. Guys, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really cool, and I really appreciate it. So I'll let you know on Twitter when we'll continue. Cool. Okay. Bye, guys. I will also let you know if there's anti-spy bill with the Internet Party, 8 p.m. New Zealand time Sunday. I think there will be. I'm just not sure who we're interviewing yet, but we'll see. Okay. Take care, guys. Thank you very, very much for being here with me.